Um, Oistes, we learned that the Madrege that the Rebbe was saying in the Maimer, the previous Rebbe, that the level of bittul that the neshama has lamailo, and what the meaning of the words ein bilibenu elo echad, that refers to the highest level of bittul, higher than the bittul of even Yehudei law. It's higher than the bittul of a Merkava. So we're talking about a level of bittul which is beyond even Atzilus, beyond the Merkava of Atzilus. So how is it that the Yaakov's children, the Shvatim, said to Yaakov, Kshem shein bilibcha ela echad, just like in your heart, as the Rebbe explained, bilibcha, only in the lave of Yaakov, because in that level of the lave of Yaakov is ela echad. There is no other ritzonos. There is nothing else. Not even a metzias of bittel. It's ela echad. It's just one. There's nothing else there. So they're saying, just like by you is ein belibcha ela echad, kach ein bilibenu ela echad. Likewise, bilibenu, in the lave of the Shvatim, there's also ela echad. How could that possibly be that in the lave of the Shvatim, the we know that the Shvatim are in the world of Bia, in Bria, but Yaakov was in the world of Atzilus. The others were a Merkava. So how could the Shvatim have the level of El Ein B'Libeinu El Echad? This is a Madrege which is even higher. Even within Yaakov, this is higher than even the bittel of the Merkava, which is in Atzilus. The bittel of Yaakov in Atzilus. How could the Shvatim have that bittel? The Rebbe will explain that all the differences of the levels of bittul is only in the level of rotzin for Olamist, Hashem's rotzin, Hashem's will to create worlds. But the Yidden are even higher than the Ebershter's rotzin, because as it says, "B'min nimlach benishmeseim shel tzadikim," that who did Hashem consult whether he should have the rotzin for the world? That's the neshamas of tzadikim. That means a Yid's neshama was consulted, which means that the source of a Yid is even higher than Rotz. Because of that source of a Yid, he can bring down even into the level of Biyah, that level, because that level, which is higher than Rotzen, isn't measured by any of these limitations, and therefore it can come down even to the Shvatim. Let's look inside. Oistes. Alpi Hanal, based on the above, that we explain the level of Ein Zor Itoi, Ein Bilibcha Le'echa, that this is such a high madrega, a higher level of bittel, even higher than the bittel of the Merkava. Alpi Hanal, so based on the above, Tzarich Lahavin, we need to understand Masha Amru Hashvatim, this that the Shvatim said, Kach ein bilibenu el echad. Likewise, in our heart, there's only echad. Just like by Yaakov, they say the same thing is bilibenu is el echad. But we need to understand this. Hare Hashvatim heim bibiyah. The Shvatim are in Bri, Tzira, Asiya, Kimevuer, become a Mekoimes, as explained in many places, Hachiluk bein ha'ovis lehashvatim. The different level of the Avis, the forefathers, Avram, Yitzchok, and Yaakov, and the tribes, and the Shvatim. Sha'avis heim ba'atzilus. Avis are neshamas, they come from Atzilus. V'hashvatim, and the tribes, heim b'biyah, they're in biyah. So since the Shvatim come from Biyah, Shahabitl Shabibiyah, who habitl the Yichud Tato, the bitl, the subjugation that exists in Biyah is a bitl, is a subjugation called Yichud Tato, the lower level of Yichud, which means there is a Metzias that is bottled, that's Yichud Tato, which is la'amato gam habitl the merkava da atzilus, which is even lower than the bitl of merkava of atzilus. So the bitl of biyah is lower than the bitl of atzilus, which is the bitl of merkava. So since they are in biyah and they're in the level of bitl of yichud tato, which is lower than the bitl of Merkava Atzilus, v'afal pikein amru, and yet they said, ein bilibeinu el echad, that by libeinu is also, there's only echad. What does it mean, el echad? The inyan el echad, who? What does it mean? She'ein shum mitzias bil mibalode, that there is no entity, there's no existence without Hashem. That's a much higher level of bittul than this bittul of Yehuda Tato, because this level is even higher. This is a higher level of bittul, the ein ela echad, even than the Merkava Atzilus, as we explained before. The Rebbe explained that the Merkava Atzilus, while there's a bittul, or like the Rebbe says, the Merkava is bottle, the source of bottle to the Reichev, to the rider, but yet there is still an entity, there's an entity of Susim, but it's not totally bottle. But this is higher, Ela Echot is even higher than that bittul is explained. The Yisayim Mizu, not only do we say that they have this bittul, but they're comparing their bittul to the bittul of Yaakov. Sha'amru, what they said is, Kishem shein belibcha elo echad, just like in your heart there's only echad, kach, likewise. So in other words, they're comparing it. Ein bilibeinu elo echad, also in our heart there is only one. So this comparison that they have the same bittul as the bittul of Yaakov is like, how could that be? Inyan del echad shebahem, v'inyan del echad shebayakov, shneim b'shaveh. They're saying that the elo echad that they have is equal to the elo echad of Yaakov. They're both equal because they're saying shem b'libcha kach b'lemeinu. So how is that possible? So the Mitler Rebbe explains in Shalit Shuvah shahashoyresh l'kol hachilukim shebeseder ha'hishtalshelus, that the root for all these differences that are in the order of hishtalshelus, which means the difference of the bittul of Merkava, the bittul of Yichud Tato, and all the different bittul, the level of bittles, where are they all rooted in the Ratzon? Koilel hachiluk shebein Yichud Tato dibiyah liyichud Atzilus, which would also include the distinction between the lower level of Yichud, which is in Be'eri Tzira Asiya, and the upper level of Yichud, which is in Atzilus. Ulamayla Yoser, and also higher even than the Yichud Lov Atzilus, Habitul Del Echad, which is even higher than the Merkava, higher than the Bittul of Atzilus, Yichud Lov. All of these differences in the order of Ishtalshlus, Ubeharotzin al Ha'ilomas. It's all in Rotzin, the level where there is Rotzin for the world. Sha'Allah b'rtzoinei ha'pashut lahatzil v'livrei, in which it went up in the Hashem's simple will to create and to separate, to bring them into being. That's where all these differences levels is. But the root of the neshamas is higher than the level of Ratzon, which has all this distinction. That is in the essence of the Ein Sof, actually, L'maylo mirotzin haposhut. That's even higher than that simple rotzin for world where there's differences. That's the level of atzmus where the neshama comes from. As we say, b'min nimlach b'nishmisayim shel tzadikim. Who did Hashem consult whether to create the world or not was with the souls of the tzaddikim, meaning the souls of the neshamas of all of the yid. And since when we measure relative to the essence of the Ein Sof, which is the Shorish HaNeshamas, the Neshamas come from the level of Atzmus Ein Sof. So relative L'gabe Atzmus Ein Sof, Kol Ha'inyonim Heim B'Shaveh. All matters are equal, so there is no Yichud Lo, Yichud Tato, everything is equal Atzmus. L'chein, Gam ha'inyan de'ela echad she'b'Yakov nimshach gam b'hashvatim. So therefore, also this idea of Elo Echad, because it comes from the level which is equal by everybody, she'b'Yakov nimshach gam b'hashvatim nishamas de'biyah. That's why that extends also in the shvatim, which are the neshamas of B'ri Yitzira Asira. So basically, because the Yidden's connection comes from a place which is even higher than all of these differences that comes from Atzmus Ein Sof, it can come, therefore, from Atzmus Ein Sof even to the Shvatim, which are in Biyah, because relative to Atzmus Ein Sof, Biyah and Atzilus, it doesn't make a difference. So they can get, in the Shvatim, can get the level of Ein Bilbein Olech. So what is the Rebbe trying to bring out? The Rebbe in this Maimer is trying to bring out that the main Avodah is Take in Biyah, in the Tachten, to turn things around over here, the struggles. So why does he emphasize over here and talking about the great level of the neshama, that the neshama is the level of bittul, and here we're saying it's the level of atzmus, and it's ein b'lebeinu ela echad. The reason the Rebbe explains now that he brings all this down is to tell us how we have the koyach to struggle and battle and win the Yetzer Hara, that even while we have all kinds of nisyonis, challenges, and we have difficulties, and yet we have the koyach to overcome it all. The reason we have the koyach to overcome it all is because the neshama of a yid is rooted in the level of atzmos. That's why the Freidik Rebbe and the Maimer brings this down to point out to the fact that we come from the level of atzmos, that we have the koyach to overcome all the challenges. Based on this, we can say, based on what we have just explained, that the root of the neshama comes from atzmus, and therefore it can come down even in biyah. So based on this, we can say this that the Maimer goes into great length. To talk about the great advantage of the soul as it is above, ad the ein zor itoy, till the extent that we're saying ein zor itoy, as the Rebbe brought out, kaima b'diyukno, kaima malka, one level, and then it also says it's dvekus, second level, then it says the third level, ein zor itoy. He goes and he speaks about the greatest of the levels of the neshama before it came down. Why is he spending so much time telling us about the greatness of the neshama? Hagam shetoich b'peirik zeh, even though the contents, the idea of this chapter, she'ikir havoida da neshama ulamata dafke, that the main avoida of the neshama is below. Why is he speaking so much of the greatness of the neshama above? We want to discuss what the neshama has to do here below. That's the idea of the Maimer. So the reason is those that ugam bichdei, that is also in order l'ramis to hint hakoyach sheyesh b'haneshama, the power that the neshama has biridos or lemata when it comes down below, the izgaber al kol hamaniyus v'ikuvim, to overcome, to overpower all the obstacles, all these things that prevent. How so? The idea is like this: the fact that the neshama had one rotzin to Hashem without a stranger, that's the highest level that we spoke. The aim bilibeinu ala echad will be iker mitzad shorsho be'atzmus ein sof. It's mainly because of the source, the root of the neshama in the atzmus ein sof, shelemaylo me'rotzin lahatzil belivra, which is higher than the rotzin to separate and to create the maila, the binimlach, so it's a higher. So, because it is a rotzin, had such a rotzin, and that rotzin comes from the level of atzmus ein sof. So then it comes down below. So he says like this: all this is only because the neshama is in the highest level of atzmus ein sof. Because once you go already in the rotzen, ki beharotzen lahatzil v'livra, in the rotzen of Hashem to separate and create, kivan sheharotzen hu sheyiyu olamais. So what is the rotzen? The rotzen is that there should be worlds. So in that rotzen, there is already room, space for worlds. So yesh sham shoydesh unesinas mokim l'rotzen zor. So there is already a root, and there is room given for a strange rotzen. As soon as we make a rotzen for world, there is also a place of rotzen zor. To get a place ein zor ito, no other ritzoinus, that's in the level which is higher than the rotzen to create the world, in the level of atzmus. But once we talk about the rotzen, so there is a red mokken l'rotzen zor, because you're talking about oilumes. And we're not just talking a space that there's an allowance. Once we talk about the rotzen, that strange rotzen, that strange rotzen is still a very high madrega, because first we're talking about a metzias shebetela betachlis, an entity which is totally subjugated. It's still called the rotzen zor. So we're not only talking about that rotzen zor, elogam the rotzen zor kipshuto. We're talking about once there is a rotzen for elumes, there is place for strangers, strangers, literally. Ki harotzen hu sheyiyu oilumes, because when we talk about a rotzen to be oilumes, hu sheyiyu gam oilumes biyah, that there will also be worlds of biyah. Ad la'olam has hagashmi, till all the way till this physical world. When we say the neshama was only rotzen echad ve'ein zor itoy, that highest level of the neshama that the Alter Rebbe, that the Friedrich Rebbe describes in the Maimer, the level of the neshama, yesh loimer hakavona b'zeh. So we can say by saying that she'en gam nisinas mokim al rotzen zor, there is not even any space for a rotzen zor. Gam loyle mitzias shebetela betachlis, even not to an entity that's totally bottled. So we say ein rotzen zor. I mean that's what he explained before, that there is no mesinas mokim for any rotzen zor, not a rotzen zor, not a real rotzen zor, but a rotzen zor, a strange rotzen, which would be even the metzias that is bottled betachlis, still it doesn't have, that's called still zor, it doesn't have that either. The inyan zesha b'neshama hu mitzad zeh, where does this neshama have this idea that there's not even room for a rotzen, for a zor, for a bottle betachlis, it doesn't have. That comes because it's rooted in the essence of the Ein Sof. Shalamayla Maharatzin al Oilomis, which is higher than the Ratzin of world. That's the reason why in the Neshama there is no Ratzin, even a Zor of Bittel Betachlis, it also does not. She'ein Shum Sham Shum Nisinas Mokel U'Metzias Shechutz Mimenu. Over there is no place given to any entity which is outside of Hashem. Doesn't matter that it's a Metzias that is bottled. There's no Metzias, period, outside of Hashem. So where does the Neshama have this level? That's because of the root that the Neshama has in the Atzmus Ein Sof. And since because of its root in the Atzmus Ein Sof, the Elo Echad Shabi Yaakov. So, because of the root, so this idea of Elo Echad of Yaakov, Neshama Shalamaylo, which is the Neshama of above, which is in Atzilus. So, this Elo Echad that Yaakov has, he has it because of the root of Ein Sof, Nimshal Begilui. This comes out also openly in the Shvatim, the Neshama Shalamata, the Neshama Biyah, the Neshama below. Meaning, Yaakov represents the Neshama the way it's Lamaylo. The Shvatim represent the way the Neshama is Lamata, so in Biyah. So because this is rooted in the Ein Sof, so just like the Neshama Lamaylo has this level of root of the Ein, no, this in a smoke of Harotz and Zor, Ein Bilebeina Echad, also in the Neshama Lamata, also the way we're below. Lochein, and therefore, Gam B'Yesod B'Guf. So this is the explanation how the Neshama has the Kayach to overcome all these Nisyonis is because of its root in the level of the Atzmus Ein Sof, which even though we are in this world, but we're rooted in the higher above. So if the neshama above has it, we have it below also, because there's no limitation for the atzmus ein sof, which is the root of the neshama. Lochein, gam bihiyosa beguf moler etzonis zoris. Even when the neshama finds itself in the body, which is full, which strange wants, which Zoris Kipshutam, we're talking about literally strange, not Zorim, biblical levels of Mitzias, but Zoris Kipshutam. The type is Gashmim V'chumrim, and physical and materialistic type is Shemoinim Es HaNeshama Ma'avoda Ha'alikis, who prevent the soul from godly service. Because of its shoydish in atzmus ein sof yesh lo hakoyach lisgaber aleim. It has the power to overcome them, to overpower them, and that's why the Rebbe, while he discusses the ma'ila of the avodas haneshama lamata, the work lamata, he brings down the level of the ma'ila to tell us that we have that power of that neshama l'maylo, kshem shebi libcha elechad, just like the neshama l'maylo has this unbelievable root and strength of the total bittul, we can bring it down even b'lamata when we have to struggle. We have that level and we're able to overcome this mile. And then the Rebbe in the Maimer goes on to explain Oisyud, what the Rebbe says there, that the ultimate avodah is to overcome the challenges. That's the ultimate avodah, to sort out the guf, the nefesh hativis, here below. The Rebbe is going to explain that in the beginning of the Maimorim, he talked about changing the world. And now we're talking about changing yourself as well, not just changing the world, but changing yourself. Let's look inside you. After he explains in the Maimer, she reads asan neshama lamato, ubichdei levarer ulezachich es aguf v'nefesh hatidis. The neshama came down below is to sort out and to refine the body and the natural soul, and to illuminate the portion that the person has in the world. That's the ultimate purpose. The neshama came down to this world. Moisif, he adds, she'ikir ha'avoida, the neshama ulamata dafke. The main avodah of the neshama is dafke below. So what does he explain? The kivon shaguf umole ritzonis zoris betayvus gashmi v'chomrim. Since the body is full of strange wants and physical and materialistic desires, taivus. Shamoinim es ha'avodah ha'saneshama ma'avodah ha'likis, which hold the neshama back from its godly service. Lochein hitzricha la'avodah v'igia atzumo b'milchomo kveda b'yoser. This is from the Rebbe's Maimer. That's why, because of all of these taivus and material and strange wants and physical things, which stop the neshama from its godly service, lochein hitzricha la'avodah v'igia atzumo b'milchomo kveda b'yoser. That's why she needs to work hard and a lot of effort, a powerful effort in a strong war to overcome all these challenges. So, what is the Rebbe? The Rebbe is going to explain how, adding to that which he already said, that the neshama comes down to be mevarer and the guf and avshativis, he says that there's all these obstacles and you have to wage war. What does the Rebbe want with this addition? This is the idea that the neshama gets the level of iskafia. We can say that which he adds, that the main avodah is below dafke uluvayer oid inyan shenase b'haneshama al yidei yiridos lamata, additional aspect that happens to the neshama by descending below, which is hamayla the iskafia. We're talking about the neshama gets the advantage of iskafia. What does this add on what we said before? Before we were talking about iskafia, the benefit of the world. Now we're talking about iskafia to benefit the neshama. When he says earlier that the descent of the neshama ulamata ubirday levarer ulazacher chesaguf v'nefesh v'schulu, in order to sort out and to refine the body and the natural soul, who shall yidei yiridosa lemato, that is through that is descent below, hibo lehaliyah, this hapcha, that brings it to the level of his hapcha. And now he wants to say the level of his kafia. That he adds second shalamato ikar avodah, that the main avodah below avodah v'higia atzuma b'milchama kveda b'yosef, this work and this very strenuous war that takes place, ushal yidei iridos lamato ibola ilui di iskafia, that the neshama comes to the advantage of iskafia. So basically, before he talks about the level of advantage of the neshama, that it comes to the level of his hapcha, the world, the neshama itself comes to the level of his hapcha. Now we're talking about it comes to the advantage of his kafia. We'll explain based on what we explained before in the seventh seif. The beperika esrim mevayer hanekuda apnimis the chol ha'inyonim shebeha'hemshech, that in the 20th chapter he explains the inner point of all the matters that we discussed in this continuous maimer, in this hemshech, she'hanekuda apnimis the chol ha'inyonim shebe'olam, that the inner point of everything in the world Those are these matters the way they are by the person, not just the impact on the world, but the impact on the person. So yes, so we can add shebeprokim hakoidmi mevayer beiker ha'inyan iskafia v'ishapcha. In the previous chapter, he explains mainly the idea of iskafia v'ishapcha shebeolam shenasa lidei avodas adam. What person accomplishes in the world through his avodah. And in the 20th chapter, this is the point of the whole Maimer of this Hamshach, which the point of everything is Breishis B'Shul Yisrael, is the impact on the Yidden. So in the 20th chapter, the idea of Iskafia and Ishapra, which is in the service of the person himself, not as it impacts the world, but it impacts the person himself. So the Rebbe says in the Sois Yud, he says two points he brings down. First of all, that the Rebbe over here speaks about the advantage of the level of Iskafia, how we accomplish Iskafia versus before how we accomplish Ishapcha. Ishapcha means to turn things around, but we want to discuss here in this Perik the idea of Iskafia, that the fact, the advantage, and the level of Iskafia that is achieved by the Neshama. That's one point. And the other point is that mainly before in this chapter 20, mainly we're talking about the impact on the Neshama, because ultimately, as the Rebbe said before, the chapter 20 discusses the point that everything, how it's negeya to the person. So in the previous parts of the Maimer, we talked about how it impacts the world. But now when we come to the final part of the Maimer, chapter 20, we're talking how it impacts the person, the level of Iskafia, and the level of Ishapcha, which is in the person himself. Okay, let's leave it over here. We'll mamshich Be'ezer Hashem tomorrow, Be'ezer Hashem. It's a long Maimer, and
Okay.
a lot of difficult in Yonim here, but we'll take it slowly, a little bit at a time. Mitzvah Hashem.
Yeah. Is able to help, yes.
Okay.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
Hatzlacha Rabba.
thank you.
You're welcome.